Greetings and welcome to Goldleaf. My name is Aidan. Today, we will go on an adventure with one of Goldleaf's favorite furry friends, a Shetland Sheepdog named Ghillie. So grab a cup of cocoa and your favorite blanket and join me in this evening's sleep story. The morning light creeps gently across the quiet town of Goldleaf. Its glow filters through branches, still holding on to the last of their autumn colors. The air is cool and carries the crisp scent of frost-kissed grass, mingled with the faint sweetness of apples left too long on a nearby tree. On the front steps of his cottage, Ghillie stretches luxuriously, his forelegs extended, his back arching before he gives a soft shake that sets his long fur rippling. In the early sun, his coat shimmers with shades of russet and gold, as if he carries a piece of autumn with him wherever he goes. He yawns, his ears flicking forward as a few dry leaves scrape along the cobblestones, pushed by a lazy breeze. The world is waking slowly. Somewhere down the lane, a rooster calls half-heartedly, as if even he isn't quite ready for the day. From the hedgerow, a sparrow flits out to perch on a fence post, its feathers puffed against the chill. Ghillie tilts his head, watching it hop along the wood before it darts away with a quick flutter. Two squirrels squabble noisily over a patch of acorns. Their sharp little voices carry across the still air like the clinking of tiny bells. They pause mid-argument when they notice Ghillie. Their bodies frozen, tails flicking in quick bursts of irritation. And after a moment, they give him something that might have passed for a nod of acknowledgement before disappearing in a scramble of claws up the nearest oak. Ghillie lets out a soft huff that might be a laugh. He lowers his nose to sniff the ground near the steps, catching the earthy scent of damp leaves that had piled into the corners of the walkway. A stray leaf clings to his nose, and he paws at it briefly, sending it twirling away. The cottage behind him sits snug and quiet, ivy curling up one side of its stone wall, its windows fogged slightly from the warmth inside. A faint clatter of dishes drifts through the open window, along with the comforting aroma of tea steeping and bread toasting. But Ghillie is already eager to greet the world beyond the gate. He trots a few steps into the lane, then pauses, nose lifted to the breeze. The town lies ahead, touched with the soft amber of morning, every chimney puffing its first little trail into the sky. The festival will be stirring soon, and there are paths to wander, corners to explore, and plenty of familiar faces waiting for him in the square. With a bright flick of his tail, Ghillie starts down the lane, the quiet morning unfolding around him like a story just beginning. The path crunches pleasantly beneath Ghillie's paws, each step scattering a few brittle leaves that skitter across the lane. The air is cool, but gentle, carrying the faint scent of baked apples and something sweet drifting from the town ahead. Porches are dressed for the season, each one with its own little flourish. Pumpkins line the steps in neat rows, some carved into lanterns with friendly faces that grin at passers-by. Others painted in swirls of copper and pale blue, catching the light like marbled stone. Bundles of chrysanthemums spill over wooden planters, their deep reds and yellows glowing against the morning air. Here and there, scarecrows stand sentry beside gates and fences. Some are tall and serious, stuffed with straw and dressed in flannel, while others are playful. One wears a patched bowler hat that tips comically to the side. Another has a crooked smile stitched wide with twine. Their button eyes seem to watch Ghillie as he trots past, though he hardly minds. He pauses to sniff at one with a red scarf tied snugly at its neck, tail wagging as if in approval before moving on. Neighbors are already stirring, and nearly all of them greet him warmly. Jimmy, the postmaster, on his way to unlock the office, tips his cap with a chuckle. "Morning, Ghillie. he says as if speaking to an old friend. At the corner house, a child crouches down, holding out a small biscuit in mittened hands. Ghillie approaches with polite steps, takes the offering gently, and wags his tail once in thanks before trotting on again. From the bakery windows, he catches the faint glow of ovens at work, the silhouettes of loaves rising in neat rows. A florist arranges gourds and dried flowers outside her shop, pausing to give Ghillie a wave, and an old man sweeping his porch leans on his broom just long enough to say, "You're off to the festival, eh? Smart pup." The cobbled street grows busier the closer he draws to the square. Lanterns strung high above sway lightly in the breeze, their glass painted in warm shades of amber and green. A distant murmur of voices carries up the hill, laughter, calls of greeting, and the quiet buzz of anticipation. Ghillie's ears flick forward, and he quickens his pace, for the day is just beginning, and the festival is awaiting. The town square is alive with color, a patchwork quilt stitched from every shade of autumn. Garlands of orange and gold drape from the storefronts, their ribbons fluttering in the breeze like banners announcing the season. Laughter hums through the air, mingling with the crisp rustle of leaves underfoot and the faint jingle of bells tied to a horse's harness nearby. At the entrance, Ghillie pauses, ears pricked at the splash of water and the peals of childish laughter. A group of children are bobbing for apples, their cheeks flushed red from the cold water, hair dripping as they emerge triumphantly with fruit clamped between their teeth. They laugh, sputter, and dive again, as if the simple act of fishing for apples from a barrel were the height of delight. Ghillie tilts his head, trying to puzzle it out. To him, apples are best when stolen from a low branch, crisp and tart between the teeth. Why would anyone plunge their face into icy water for the same prize? He blinks once, twice, watching as another child surfaces with a victorious grin, droplets flying in all directions. Still, despite his confusion, he finds it charming. This ritual of splashing and laughter, the way the whole group cheers for every dripping success. To a dog's mind, perhaps, it seems a little mad. But it is a joyful madness, and that makes it worth keeping. Just then, Winslow the baker passes by balancing a tray of steaming mugs. The scent unfurls like a warm blanket. Apples slow cooked until sweet. Cinnamon sticks steeping their fire into the brew. Cloves and nutmeg lingering in the air like secret spices of the season. The steam curls upwards, carrying that fragrance into every corner of the square, and Ghillie's nose twitches appreciatively. The cider itself is more than a drink. It is comfort made liquid. People wrap their hands around the mugs, fingers curled to catch the heat. Each sip seems to thaw the chill from their bones, painting cheeks with a rosy glow. The taste is both sharp and mellow. Apple tartness softened by sugar, deepened by spice, and carried by the warmth of the fire-kissed air. Conversations grow softer around the cider stands, laughter loosening, voices slowing, as though the drink invites everyone to linger just a little longer in the moment. Ghillie watches as a woman passes him, cradling her cup carefully as though it was a treasure. The steam drifts down toward him, brushing against his fur. He does not need to taste it to know. The cider belongs to this season, as much a part of the festival as pumpkins, lanterns, and laughter. The soft rumble of a tractor and the laughter of children breaks the drowsy spell woven by the cider's warmth. Ghillie approaches. The wagon it pulls is wide and wooden, lined with golden hay that spills over the edges like a nest waiting for passengers. The air is filled with a sweet, dry scent of straw, mixed faintly with the tang of diesel drifting from the tractor's exhaust. A smell so tied to county fairs and autumn fields that it feels comforting in its own way. Children scramble onto the wagon, their boots thumping against the planks. One of them pats hay beside him, and Ghillie leaps up, landing in the soft, rustling bed. He circles once before settling next to a little girl wrapped in a plaid scarf, her mittened hands gripping a thermos. She unscrews the lid, releasing a curl of cocoa steam, rich, chocolatey, and irresistible. She giggles when Ghillie noses closer, and with a smile, she lifts the wool blanket over her lap, inviting him to share its warmth. The tractor jolts forward, and the wagon begins to roll. The ride has its own rhythm, the steady clunk-clunk of wheels over ruts, the sway of bodies shifting with each turn, the gentle bump that rocks everyone into a quiet ease. The hay rustles with every movement, its earthy fragrance blending with the crisp air. The tractor's engine settles into a steady rhythm as the wagon rolls past rows of pumpkins, glowing like candles scattered across the fields. The tour guide, standing at the front, rests one hand on the railing and gestures towards the patch, raising his voice above the tractor's hum. Pumpkins have been grown here for thousands of years, he says. The indigenous peoples of this land roasted the flesh, dried the strips, even ate the seeds for their protein. Some tribes used the hollowed shells as storage vessels, filling them with grains or beans to last through the winter. The passengers murmur in appreciation. The girl beside Ghillie takes another sip of her cocoa, steam fogging the rim of her thermos, while Ghillie shifts happily against her side. The guide points towards a particularly enormous pumpkin resting on its side, its orange skin molted with pale streaks. That big fellow over there is an Atlantic giant. Pumpkins like that can grow to weigh over more than 2,000 pounds, about the size of a small car. Folks even race them across the lakes, hollowing them out and using them as boats. The wagon hums with contemplative murmurs, the image of giant pumpkins bobbing across the water tickling everyone's imagination. He continues, warming to his subject. The tradition of carving pumpkins into lanterns comes over with Irish immigrants. In Ireland, it wasn't pumpkins, but turnips or beets. They scraped them hollow, cut faces into their sides, and lit candles inside them to keep wandering spirits at bay on All Hallows' Eve. When Irish families came to America, they found pumpkins bigger, easier to carve, and glowing like golden orbs. From then on, the jack-o'-lantern found its true home. The wagon bumps along, the hay rustling beneath the passengers as the guide's voice weaves history with charm. Pumpkins aren't just for carving, of course. In fact, for centuries, they've been turned into soups and stews, roasted with herbs, or mashed with butter and salt. Even the seeds, what some folks call pepitas, are roasted and eaten as a crunchy snack. And when ground into flour, they can even be used in bread. A hush of wonder settles over the wagon. The faint tang of diesel drifts in the breeze, mixing with the dry sweetness of hay and the distant scent of falling leaves. The tractor pulls them deeper into the pumpkin patch, past gourds of every size and color. Deep orange, pale yellow, striped green. The children point excitedly at the oddest ones, warty and misshapen, shaped like turban hats, or flattened like wheels of cheese. The guide grins. Each has its place, each its tradition. Some for carving, some for baking, some just for decoration. But every one of them, in their own way, reminds us of the season, of harvest, of warmth, of gathering together before the winter sets in. Ghillie lowers his head onto his paws, lulled by the gentle sway of the wagon. the warmth of the blanket, and the rolling voice of the guide. The hayride feels less like a tour and more like a passage through time itself, carrying everyone to the heart of autumn. The wagon bumps along, carrying its riders past a patchwork of fields, while the tractor's steady growl becomes a kind of lullaby. The rustle of hay, the warmth of cocoa, and the creak of the wagon boards combine into something timeless. Ghillie sighs contentedly and presses closer to the little girl under the blanket, his eyes half closed as the ride carries them deeper into the heart of the festival. As the wagon rolls to a stop at the edge of the fields, the tour guide rises, his voice carrying easily over the gentle hum of the tractor. Now, folks, here we are. The corn maze. Did you know that these mazes date back hundreds of years? The first recorded one appeared in England in the 16th century, a maze cut into a nobleman's garden. But here in America, cornfields became the perfect canvas. Farmers realized that they could turn their harvest into a bit of fun, challenging neighbors to see who could find their way out first. He hops down from the wagon, boots crunching against the soil. It's tradition now, every fall, to carve winding paths through the stalks. Some families come year after year, racing the sunset to find the exit before dark. The passengers climb down, the air shifting cooler as the shadows lengthen. A crow calls overhead, sharp and insistent, and its companions flutter from stalk to stalk, wings stirring the quiet air. Near the entrance, a scarecrow leans at an odd angle, his straw hat tipped back. To everyone's amusement, two bold crows are perched comfortably at his shoulders, cawing as if mocking his purpose. Laughter ripples through the group, and even Ghillie gives a low chuff, his ears perked in delight. Inside the maze, the stalks rise higher than a man's head, walls of deep green broken by bursts of golden corn, their husks peeling back like ribbons. The pale sky above makes the color seem even more vivid, the yellow almost glowing against the soft wash of clouds. Every step stirs a chorus of sound, the dry rattle of husks brushing together, the crunch of earth beneath boots, and the whisper of leaves trailing against shoulders. Ghillie trots confidently at the front, his nose twitching, tail sweeping with quiet pride. The little girl from the wagon stays close at his side, one small hand buried in his thick fur. She is nervous. Her eyes flick from turn to turn as if the maze might swallow her whole. But with Ghillie there, steady and warm, her breaths become easier. Each time she squeezes his fur, he slows just enough as though to reassure her, "We will find the way." The children chatter behind, taking guesses at which turn leads out. Some paths twist back upon themselves, others dead end at tall walls of corn. But Ghillie presses forward, led by something more certain than guesswork. His nose has caught a thread, a scent carried lightly on the breeze. It's savory, mouth-watering, the unmistakable promise of food drifting from the festival square. Roasted meat, perhaps, or a stew thick with autumn herbs. His paws carry him unerringly forward, the girl clutching close, the others falling into line behind him. At last, after one final turn, sunlight bursts through ahead. The group emerges triumphant, husks clinging to coats and hair. The girl laughs with relief, hugging Ghillie around the neck, her earlier fear forgotten. And there, carried fully on the breeze now, is the festival feast awaiting them, rich, savory, and warm, like a beacon guiding them home. The festival square glows like a lantern of color and sound, each corner casting its own pool of warmth and crowded with treasures. Jars of honey catching the sunlight in shades of amber and gold, their surfaces glimmering like stained glass. Baskets of apples polished to a shine, and trays of caramel apples glistening like jewels, their glossy shells dripping with ribbons of chocolate or rolled in crushed nuts. Nearby, loaves of pumpkin bread steam gently in wicker baskets, sending out waves of cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger that wrap the crowd in warmth. The air is filled with sound, children's laughter rising above the hum of chatter, the ring of bells announcing a game's winner, the soft clap of applause for a well-thrown toss. Children line up at the ring toss stall, aiming carefully at rows of painted bottles. Some land neatly, rewarded with cheers and applause. Others clatter away, prompting groans, only to tumble again and again under the solid thunk of beanbags. Each successful throw earns a prize: a handmade doll with yarn hair, a stuffed rabbit stitched from old cloth, a ribbon in autumn colors. Further along, a wheel of fortune creaks as it spins, its painted arrows ticking around before landing on prizes small and large. A boy clutches a jar of candied pecans to his chest, grinning as though he has won the crown jewels. Everywhere Ghillie goes, he is greeted like an honored guest. A farmer's wife stoops out to pat his head, slipping him a tiny crust of warm bread. A group of children call out his name, racing to scratch behind his ears before darting off to try their luck at another game. Even the vendors lean over their counters to smile down at him, their voices warm. "There's our festival dog," they say. "Keeping watch, aren't you?" He wags his tail at each greeting, slipping through the crowd with calm pride. To Ghillie, the stalls and games are less about winning or losing, more about the joy they stitch together. Neighbors laughing side by side, hands sticky with caramel, eyes bright in the golden light of the square. The smell of roasting nuts drifts across the breeze, mingling with the sweetness of kettle corn that pops cheerfully in an iron kettle. The two scents weave together, savory and sweet, earthy and bright, and for a moment, it seems the entire festival could be bottled into a single breath. As twilight deepens, the lanterns are lit one by one, their golden light pooling across the cobblestones in shimmering halos. The square feels softer now, wrapped in a warm hush that deepens as the stars prick open above. A guitar player takes his place near the fountain, the warm strum of strings spilling into the twilight. The tune is lively but smooth, each chord rolling like a wave through the square. Couples take another's hands, moving into quick, playful steps. Boots scuff the cobblestones in time, skirts flare as partners spin, and laughter rises above the music like sparks from a fire. The whole square seems to sway together, the golden lantern light catching every swirl and turn. But beyond the square, another light begins to glow. Villagers gather where a great bonfire has been stacked, the wood piled high and kindled with care. Flames lick upward, crackling as they devour the logs, sending sparks spiraling into the deepening sky. The scent of smoke rolls outward, dry and rich, filling the lungs with its earthy sting. Children crowd close, skewering marshmallows on long sticks. Their laughter bubbles as the sugar blisters and browns, melting into sticky sweetness that clings to the fingers. The air smells of caramelized sugar and char, smoke and sweetness weaving together into something wholly autumn. The older townsfolk sit back in rocking chairs and benches, cider mugs cradled in their hands, and begin to tell the story of the festival itself. One woman, her hair silver under the firelight, speaks first. Goldleaf's fall festival began long before we had squares or bandstands, she says. Back when this town was nothing more than scattered farms and cabins, neighbors would gather at harvest's end to share what they had: pumpkins, apples, bread, and stories. It was a way to make the work feel lighter, to remind each other that even the longest winter could be met if we faced it together. Another man leads forward, his voice carrying over the crackle of the fire. In those early days, The bonfire was built as a signal, a promise of light and warmth against the darkness of the season ahead. Families would bring a log from their own hearth to add to the blaze. It meant we all carried one another through the cold months. A hush falls over the crowd, the fire painting their faces in shades of amber and shadow. Then, another voice, younger this time, chimes in with a grin. And of course, the games. The ring toss, the pumpkin carving, and the apple bobbing. They all came later, but the heart of it has never changed. Food, fire, and friendship. That's what makes Goldleaf's autumn what it is. Around the flames, people nod, sip their cider, and share their marshmallows. The stories drift like sparks upward, dancing with the smoke into the cool night air. Ghillie pads closer, circling once before settling at the little girl's feet. She strokes his fur absently, her cheeks warm from the cocoa and firelight, her eyes dreamy as the stories wash over her, the crackle of the fire, the smell of toasted sugar, and the murmur of voices. All of it folds together into something timeless, nostalgia in the making. When the music softens and the crowd begins to thin, Ghillie rises and stretches, his paws pressing into the cobblestones. He trots away from the square at an easy pace, tail swaying gently behind him. The lanterns still burn, their golden light reflected in the stones as though the street itself were sprinkled with starlight. The air is cool now, touched with the faint sweetness of dried leaves and the hush of branches whispering ahead. The walk is unhurried. A breeze stirs the last sounds of the festival, soft laughter, a closing door, the creak of a wagon rolling away. As he nears home, the cottages grow quiet, curtains drawn against the night. Ghillie pads past them, his nails clicking softly on the stone, before sinking into the softer earth of his own garden path. At the porch, he circles once before climbing the steps, his nose brushing against the wooden door as if to check that all is as it should be. He gives a gentle huff, satisfied, then slips around to his favorite spot by the railing. There, he sits for a moment, ears turning to catch the distant song of crickets and the occasional call of an owl. The world feels calm, wrapped in a blanket of autumn night. Inside, the familiar creaks of the cottage greet him. He trots to his water bowl first, lapping up a cool drink, the sound soft and steady. Then he noses his blanket into a neater pile, circling 3 times before curling into its folds. His fur still carries traces of the festival, hay clinging here and there, and the faint perfume of smoke and sweets. He sighs a long, contented breath that seems to empty the whole day from his chest. His eyes grow heavy, lids sinking as the fire in the hearth crackles low, painting the room in gentle flickers. The scent of the festival drifts away now, only in memory. Cider, chestnuts, toasted sugar, woven into his dreams as he drifts toward sleep. Outside, the lanterns burn lower. The trees stand watch, their branches swaying gently against the pale moonlight. And Ghillie, the little sheepdog of Goldleaf, rests easy, the festival fading into a hush of night, the promise of tomorrow wrapped all around him. Thank you for visiting Goldleaf with me tonight. If you'd like to return again, you can subscribe to this channel, leave a kind word below, or simply join me next time for another story. Until then, rest well.